Everyone, it's a delight to be here, and Mr. Agarwal, I'm not going to be cornered. I'm going to take the center stage. I came to this platform about 3 years ago, and when I look back at the journey, 3 years that all of us have taken, a lot has changed for us. A lot has changed for us in the tech industry. What used to be trends 3 years ago are now mainstream, and I'll talk about some of them. A lot has changed for you in the retail industry, and we experience that every single day in our lives, in our day-to-day lives, we see that happening. A lot's changed for us together as well. If I look back 3 years ago, and I was on this platform, I found very few people I knew. But when I came in today, I knew lots of people, which means we've worked together with you, delivered value right from infra to your business, and really the partnership has grown, so that really makes us feel very, very proud of what we've done in this space. And more importantly, what's changing is the economic environment. We are today standing on the threshold of a very different economic outlook that we see in the next few years, and really makes me feel bullish about the fact, and for the sake of all of us in this room, I do hope we get to what we'll call as the retail boom in the next few years, and I hope that happens. What I'm going to do for the next few minutes, I'm going to take a lot of time for you guys, but a very few and a short synopsis of what technology, I'm not going to try to tell you about retail honestly, but what technology can do to retail, and where do we as Microsoft see technology playing as a business enabler for you folks. So that's how I'm going to play this out. This really is on the left where technology is, and the right where we see retail as. By now, most of you would have heard about the 4 big technology trends, if you will. SMAC, as some people call it: social, mobility, analytics, and cloud. And when I reflect back, as I was really preparing for this forum, it was interesting for me to observe that these trends apply to your industry as much as to any industry. And sometimes, in some cases, even more, because you face a very demanding lot of customers who are also adopting these trends very fast. If you look at mobility to start with, mobility is totally changing how you interact with your customers, where you interact. It's totally changing. We've already put technology in the hands of the consumer from a form factor standpoint, and you're populating it with apps, which makes it much more intuitive for them to engage with you, much more efficient for them to engage with you. And that's going to put a lot of demand on you and how you respond back to their enablement from the technology standpoint. And then I look at social. Interesting trend. It's a great situation for you to be in. Also, it's a challenge. You can actually go in today and pick up social trends that relate to you and respond fast and respond back to them. But also, imagine the speed at which these trends are catching up. We used to speak about word of mouth. That's passé. It's not happening. It's too slow. I think wildfire also is kind of a reference point which is low enough. The way impacts on social network really catch up, it's going to put a huge pressure on you and how you respond back to that. One good news spreads very fast, a bad news spreads faster. So you're going to be aware, you're going to be ready to respond back to the challenges that social networking, both in the enterprise space as well as the consumer space, is going to throw back at you. Big data's always been around, but our ability today to tackle that data and make meaningful sense out of that in a manner which is easy to use, and I'll talk about that, that is a great opportunity for you to predictively and proactively engage with your customers. You've always had data, you've always had means to pull out a sense of that data, but now the tools that are available make it much more easier for a person on the shop floor, and that's a huge impact for you, and we'll talk about that as well. And then the cloud, which is now a reality. And I said, trend 3 years ago, I see the cloud a big reality now. When I look at our business, cloud's mainstream. We're no longer talking about cloud as incubation. We did a cloud conference a few weeks ago, and I really said that cloud is being the fastest technology from incubation to scale in my history of technology that I've seen. I've seen many trends come up. I've seen mobiles come up. I've seen computers come up. So you can imagine how old I am. I saw computers come in. And this has been the fastest trend in that sense, the cloud. What cloud allows you to do is 2 things. From a back-end perspective, allow you to scale your business like never before in a much more responsible economic model, from Capex to Opex. That's a huge one for you, allows you to free up your Capex to put in your business. And then, of course, from a front-end standpoint, enabling your workforce to be much more productive through use of technologies, and we'll talk about that as well in a second. And then when I look at your industry, when I look at what's happening in your industry, I believe there's a dramatic and tectonic shift happening in your industry on account of customer buying preferences, buying behaviors. Expectations are changing. And talking to some of you and in the country and some of you globally as well, we believe there are about 6 broad trends that are going to define business investments in the technology space that you would do. 6 broad trends that we see. Globalization very, very clearly. And globalization both from your perspective as well as your consumer's perspective. For you, it allows you suddenly access to technologies that were not available in your country, in our country, some time ago. Innovation on supply chain as well as distribution models is going to happen at the same pace in this country as it can happen. So those technologies are available through globalization. We have access to all of that. From a consumer side, it is expectation. The consumer is getting exposed to global models, global experiences, and that's going to put pressure back on you, and you will have to invest to give your consumer the same kinds of experiences, either to catch up or to differentiate. Either way, it depends on the situation you are in. You're going to have to invest in new retail formats. You will have to reach your customer in many more retail formats. If you are a bricks and mortar, you'll need to expand beyond that. If you are online, you'll have to expand beyond that as well. Whether it's mobile pop-up stores, or it's web-enabled, or it's any of the kiosk forms of form factors, that's going to mandate you to invest more and more into form factors of retail. You're going to have connected consumers, and that's a very interesting one. The consumer walking into, if you're a bricks and mortar, the consumer walking into your place is much more aware. He or she has already done the homework somewhere else, coming in much more aware, and he's going to demand a very different level of conversation with your shop floor versus coming in, walking in blank and being told this is what we have and this is what is good for you, versus already deciding what is good for me and coming in and arguing about how do we do this conversation. And how do you retain that customer back on the shop floor and not give him the information and go and this person goes and buys somewhere else? That's showrooming, right? Comes to you, does the research, goes back and buys online. How do you retain that customer on your shop floor? That's going to mandate you to do investments in this space. Omni-channel is a reality. Customers will come at you in multiple channels. And they will ask for seamless experience across multiple channels. They get a bad experience on your web-enabled channel, they will not come back to you on a different channel. So getting seamless experience across multiple channels is going to need you to drive investments in this space as well. So I believe this is the synopsis of what is going to drive investments going forward in your space. How do we see this playing out? What is our vision? 3 very simple words. We believe this industry is going to have 3 experiences: personalization, seamless, and differentiated. You will have to create experiences which are personalized. Your consumer is going to want what he or she wants when and on his or her terms. So you will have to personalize the experience today. And I could be talking a few years, few months ahead of time. This may not be a now and today situation, but we'll have to get there. It'll have to be personalized. It'll have to be seamless. As I said, it'll have to be seamless across channels. A bad experience on one channel, you lose the customer. And that may not be the primary channel for you. Your primary channel may be a shop floor, and you could have a secondary e-tail channel, but still, the experience that the customer has on e-tail